On behalf of Crosscheck Media and Biz Talk Today TV, welcome everyone to Power Hour. I am your host, Todd Schoenberger. And joining me today is a candidate who is running for a seat in the House of Representatives this year, representing the great state of Maryland, my friend, Republican candidate, Lieutenant Colonel Berney Flowers. Berney, welcome to Power Hour. I know that you're running for a federal seat, for a federal office spot, but we got to start talking about at the state level. The news that broke over the last 48 hours in the state of Maryland of Governor Westmore, who clearly will want to run for president of the United States, is now bashing the Maryland state flag, the iconic flag. And it's hard to believe that the governor is doing this, especially knowing who he represents. What's the story here, Berney? Is there more to this than we're reading in the headlines?
Todd, first of all, it's always a pleasure to see you, brother. You have been a friend for a long time, and I have great faith and trust in you. But as far as Maryland's governor, Westmore, I have no faith and trust in him. Why would he do this? There's nothing wrong with our flag, and all he's doing is creating division and mistrust among the electorate. I see no reason to do this, especially when we have problems with affordability. What about that bridge that's broken that he's not trying to fix? There's a lot of things in Maryland. 14,000 people left Maryland last year, and there's a lot of things we need to fix, and there's nothing wrong with our flag. I don't understand.
I agree with you on the flag. I mean, and for people that are in the audience that don't know, it actually represents two of Maryland's founding families, the Calvert family and the Crossland families. That's why it looks the way it does. But Governor Westmore coming out is really, he's not making any friends in the state. I remember when the Ravens played the Steelers, I sent you a text message. It must have been 11:30 at night because I saw a note from Westmore actually rooting for the Steelers. And I said, does he not understand who he's representing? I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. So
that guy's insane.
Oh, he's crazy. I know. Not literally, but you know what I mean. All right.
No, I think literally.
Well, let's turn the page to the federal side. So you brought up affordability. We'll get into that, and we'll get into the Key Bridge. But I got to ask you about ICE, immigration enforcement. We're seeing a lot of headline stories out of Minneapolis, of course, but it's not just there; it's everywhere. In the state of Maryland today, students are supposed to walk out of their schools. And I know it's just an excuse for them to skip class, but you still have protests that are going around coast to coast. What is your opinion on ICE at this point? Are they doing the right thing, or do you think they may be overstepping?
Optics look ugly when people are trying to make it look bad. ICE, I back the blue. I work for DHS. I've got ties into ICE and the federal government. They're doing what needs to be done. But the big takeaway here is, I don't know if you know, they have just instituted body cameras for ICE agents. And that's going to solve a lot of problems. People are going to be able to see real-time recordings of what the ICE agent's seeing. So it'll solve a lot of problems. I think I have a big faith in body cameras. And as far as the ICE folks, they're doing what needs to be done because we've got people here in the United States that don't want to be Americans, and they're causing all sorts of ruckus. As you know, up in Minnesota, I think they found like $19 billion in fraud. I think we could have fixed our bridge for $19 billion. Wait till they go to California. Wait till they come to Maryland.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, and Gavin Newsom clearly is looking to get the Democratic ticket and everything else that's taken place there. Now, with ICE, though, and you're right, there seems to be now we have new representation in Minneapolis. So now we have 700 agents that have pulled back out of Minneapolis, but they're not going home. They're going elsewhere to continue this pattern of removing the illegals. There does seem to be a feeling, though, of nationwide, and you running for a House of Representatives, I would think would be curious to know why this is the case. I mean, if you look at President Trump ran with this agenda that, we want to get illegals out, but he's giving them an opportunity to even come back if they leave on their own. Do you think that's bending a little bit by President Trump, or are you happy to see that he's trying to come up with some type of a solution to help the illegals at least come back legally?
I don't see it as bending. I see it as you said, giving them an opportunity to come back legally. Folks that came here that are taking our resources, they're breaking our laws. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm coming up, get a little long in the tooth here, and I'm looking forward to having my Medicaid and Social Security and all the other benefits that I paid into over the past 60 years. And folks that haven't paid into that system taking away. No wonder our country is $38 trillion in debt. We can't afford to have people come here. And more importantly, the idea that people who are coming here that don't want to be American citizens, they're raising the ruckus, and we can't have that. Safety and security are paramount in my book. And the bottom line is, if folks want to be Americans, they want to do things the right way, they want to be legal, no problem. But you just can't come in here and flaunt our laws. That is unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. That makes a lot of sense, and I really hope Americans actually can embrace that thought, because as we proceed forward, this is going to be an issue, especially as we go into those midterms in November. Let's turn the page to affordability. You brought it up at the beginning. So affordability, here we have a new Fed chairman that's coming in. Not exactly sure if the Fed can do anything with affordability. What do you say to Marylanders, your constituents, when they say, look, I'm having trouble paying bills? I mean, do you have a solution for them or an idea?
Well, how about this? We have been in the process of killing power plants, gas powered and coal powered power plants. We need to get out of that business because folks' electric bills are out of control. Property taxes are sky high, car registration fees. I drive a 17-year-old truck. Before Wes Moore got in, my registration was $80. Last time I registered, which was November, $119 for one
Wow.
year. Crazy. And, yeah, I'm not raising taxes, I'm raising fees. Same thing. He's got to stop that. And another thing is, this idea of green energy. Well, the energy doesn't flow when the wind doesn't blow. You know what I mean? So we got to stop this craziness and this idea of green energy. More importantly, we have coal and oil in Western Maryland. And another thing, nuclear power is an option. And we got Calvert Cliffs. Why don't we have more nuclear power here? Matter of fact, one of the things I ran across when I was in the government, I've been to pretty much all the national labs, and thorium is an option. China's already gone online with their first thorium plant, and that can provide low cost, almost unexplodable nuclear power. We're not looking into that, and that's technology that we developed 30 years ago, but nobody's talking about it. So if I get into office, we're going to have to build ourselves some nuclear power plants. We're going to have to bring some coal plants back online. The idea is to make sure that people can afford to live. Otherwise, we're all going to have to move out of Maryland.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, because yes, you are right about the electricity costs. I was speaking to a former Goldman Sachs analyst about this, and she brought up the fact that in Washington, D.C., it was the first area of the country that really expanded into AI data centers, which, as you know, consume a great deal of electricity. And that actually is the reason for these higher electricity costs in the state of Maryland. I love your idea on the nuclear side. And this whole green energy thing, it really irritates me, because what a lot of people, they try to, I get it. You got to recycle, save the earth, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, you still need oil to actually make all of this happen. The carbon footprint on windmills, on an E85, on with the ethanol facilities in the Midwest. I mean, to transport E85, you need to put it in a tanker truck that's running on diesel,
Yeah.
on fuel that's coming out of the ground. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. There has to be alternatives on the logistics, and a lot of these green energy proponents haven't quite figured that out yet. Let's talk about the people leaving Maryland. You mentioned 14,000 are leaving the state, have left the state of Maryland because of the higher taxes, higher fees that we're seeing. Yeah, 100% of zero is zero, Berney. I mean, does Westmore not understand that the tax rolls are going to start falling off of a cliff?
I don't think Wes Moore passed his math class in high school. Bottom line, people are leaving. The tax base isn't going to be there. In the meantime, he's bringing us more fees and more social stuff. And the idea is we just simply can't afford it. And we've got to do better. But we live in a one-party state. That's one of the biggest problems we have, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. I mean, I'm trying to give folks an alternative. And, call me a Republican, call me a conservative, call me whatever, but I'm just trying to make things affordable for regular folks. And I think I can do that at a federal level. But as far as Wes Moore concerned, his math is way off.
You're right about that. So let's talk about the congressional redistricting. Now they're talking about doing the maps. Now, for the audience out there, there are 8 congressional districts in the state of Maryland. It's actually it's so Democratic. I mean, right now it would be 7-1 with Democrats and Republicans, and you're running a District 3. With the gerrymandering that's going on, you could be looking at a clean sweep of Democrats. Why are it's changing the rules of the game in the middle of the game? I mean, what are your thoughts about this? Because now, fortunately, in Annapolis, it looks like the Senate is now in a disagreement with the redistricting, but maybe you could tell us more.
I never thought I'd see Bill Ferguson disagreeing with his Democrat overlords. I just find that funny. But yeah, this redistricting thing, first of all, when I first ran for the first time in 2022, I ran into this, and it makes no doggone sense. And if they were somehow to pass this, the federal government's going to get involved and put it back like it was because it's unfair. And they're basically setting things up to where there can be only one party. I mean, we're really a one-party state at this point, but they're really going after Andy Harris and trying to make this a clean sweep. And it's just takes away all the boundaries of fairness, and it's just terrible. But whatever happens with the redistricting thing, we'll just continue fighting the fight wherever they put me. But I'm not dropping out of the race or anything like that. Matter of fact, I find myself emboldened, but I just hate people being unfair, and that's what's happening here in Maryland. These people should be ashamed of themselves.
Right. And you are correct with that. And now here we are in mid-February. Even if there is passage of the redistricting, is it too late for it to impact, say, the primaries in June or even the general election in November?
Um, I think it would, because from what I see of the map that they're proposing, they would take District 3 all the way up to Cecil County and Harford County. There's some wonderful people up there,
Wow.
but it would, kind of jumble things. You take away a lot of the folks here in Anne Arundel and Howard, and you make a super county or district that would be virtually impossible to win for any Republican, even Andy Harris. So it's just unfair. And at some point, I think the federal government, the Justice Department is going to get involved. But I'm hoping, believe it or not, that Bill Ferguson prevails and we don't have to go through all this.
Yeah, I agree with that. So let me make sure I understand that. Are you suggesting that even in the current area where District 3 is set, for the audience that's south of Baltimore City, so that area, they're looking to add Cecil County and
Yeah,
Harford County?
that's what I'm seeing. Now,
Wow.
it hasn't been approved yet. It's been approved by the delegates, but not the state Senate. But yeah, that's what they're talking about doing, from what I understand of the map. But I'm not paying attention to that much. What I'm trying to do is get out and talk to people and make people understand that there's an alternative to the chaos that the Democrats are bringing.
Yeah, and what a gigantic pain that would be for a candidate like yourself,
Oh yeah,
because so the audience knows Cecil County is the upper right corner of the state of Maryland, actually borders Delaware.
yeah.
So that would be that a lot of tolls going in and out. Maybe that's Westmore's plan for you to go bankrupt on paying the tolls through the tunnel. So
I told you he can't count. His math is terrible.
let's talk about the Key Bridge. The
Oh,
news story with Westmore, how he wants to bring in that sphere that they have in Las Vegas. They want to make one in Maryland. He thinks this is great. It's going to create, I don't know, thousands of jobs, and that's wonderful. But he can't even build the bridge. He can't rebuild the Key Bridge of all things in the state of Maryland. Can you give the audience an update on where we stand with the bridge?
last I checked, it won't be ready until 2028, and it's going to cost $5 billion. Remember, we've got an Army Corps of Engineers that is funded for disasters and emergencies, and they could have had that thing halfway built by now. And I tell you, I experienced that when I was down at Keesler Air Force Base back in the days of Katrina, and I know what they can do. And Westmore and his crew don't seem to be interested in fixing that bridge. And I would guarantee you that their 2028 estimate will be delayed.
I'm sure it will be. And that's a shame because for people in Maryland, especially in Baltimore, the Key Bridge is a vital
Oh, yeah.
connection for that beltway. They have to get something together there. So then hopefully it'll be sooner than 2028. So let's get to the breaking news of the day today. We are now we have set up a conversation with the Iranians about their nuclear plans. Now, I thought after Operation what was it, Midnight Hammer, when we knocked out their nuclear capabilities, we were done with this story. Is there a reason why the U.S. government is now bringing up and having conversations with the Iranians?
They're having a whole lot of internal strife in Iran right now. The people are revolting against the government. And I can't really speculate that deeply on it, but I know that there's unrest. And when you get unrest in an unstable country like that, bad things happen, especially with nuclear powered states. So we got to get that thing under control as soon as possible. We can't afford for that country to be overthrown. The next thing you know, somebody gets a hold of the nuclear codes over there, and we got World War III on our hands, and we didn't even start it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm sure the president, he's a smart guy. He's probably figuring that it's not about his current term, which ends in a few years, but what happens after. So it's like a chess match. You just want to plan it out. But we'll see how that turns out. So with your campaign, you have the primary coming up in June. Things are looking good, knock on wood. So that's great. Now you get elected in November. You are a cybersecurity expert. You worked for the Department of Homeland Security. Are there any particular committees that you would prefer to be a part of once you're in the House?
I would love to be on the Armed Services Committee. Most of the people that are in Congress right now have no military experience, to include my proposed opponent, Sarah Elfreth. Somehow or other, she got on that committee with little experience, no military time. But I think I can make a lot of inroads for the people. But the bottom line is I will go and do what they tell me to do. But I think I can bring a lot to the table with my military background and my time in DHS and DOD.
That is correct. And I completely agree with you. First of all, thank you for your service. But second of all, that committee should be actually filled with people like yourself that actually have the military experience. They can understand what the soldiers are going to. You remember when we worked for USAA together?
Yes.
I mean, you had to know what private enlisted soldier, what they go through. They'd have us eat the food that the soldiers were eating. I mean, it was very detailed, and it gave us an experience, and you obviously lived it firsthand. Berney, we're going to have you back before the primaries, of course. I can't wait to hear more because there's so many breaking news stories, obviously, that are taking place. But this is a hot midterm election season, and we want to hear more from you and what you're going to do to help Marylanders. I want to thank you for joining me today.
Brother, I'm always available for you. I thank you for having me. Call me anytime.
You got it, Berney. So on behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Berney Flowers, who is running for the seat in the House of Representatives, I am Berney Flowers. I am Todd Schoenberger. Thank you once again for joining us. Coming up at 10.